So I wanted to take a minute to show you some options for recreating some of the more esoteric characters that you might find if your typeface doesn't have them. So in this case, we're dealing with a Journal of Scandinavian Studies, for those of you not in the class. And there's some Old Norse characters in there that are pretty wild, and as you might expect, not in every typeface. Now, you can pick a really good typeface that has quite a few characters, and in this case, actually, mine has it. I'll zoom in here so you can see it. But what we're talking about this morning is this. It took me a while to actually find out what this was. It's called the O caudata or caudata. I'm not quite sure on the pronunciation. It literally means tailed O, and also might go by the term ogonek, which literally means little tail. And so either one of those are what we're dealing with today. As I mentioned, it's an Old Norse character. And so you can have a really nice, fully featured typeface that just doesn't have some of these more specific characters borrowed from Old Norse or some of the other kind of dead languages. So I'm going to show you how to fake that if you need to. Now, in class, we talked about the idea that you could just simply maybe draw this little tail, place it over the character, and then send it to print. And that might be the most linear way to do that. And if you only have one or two, might be an acceptable way. But if you're in the process of editing and happen to forget about those, add a new character, or change your tracking, all of a sudden that tail is in a different place. And the safe bet is to attach it to the O. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So the first step is going to come over to Illustrator and essentially recreate this. Now, I recreated this out of a cedilla, which is a close cousin to the O caudata. It's the cedilla faces the other way, and it's far more common in French words like quoi. You see it quite a bit more often, so chances are your typeface has one of those, and it would be a good starting point to repurpose that shape. So I renamed this cedilla prior to me knowing what this term actually was, but I will save it. And then what I'm going to do is bounce back over to InDesign, and outside of my main text frame, zoom out a little bit, I'm going to place that file. And there it is. And now what I'm going to do is click on this dark blue box and drag it into the text. And you can see when I do, it changes to a cursor. What I'm doing is placing an anchored text object, and where I place my cursor is going to be the anchor point. And so now it has this anchor point right here. And I'm going to actually move this to where, just about where I want it, or at least get it closer. And then I'm going to, right option click or alt click if you're on a PC onto the anchored object options. So if you hit option click or alt click on the anchor itself, it'll pull up this box. In this case, I'm going to make this the X relative to the anchor marker. And I'm going to click 0 right now. That's going to bring it more back in line. It always tends to disappear based on the previously entered coordinates. So I'll click that again. And then I'm going to use the arrow keys to get it close. And you can see it might actually be a half point, might be closer, maybe 2.5. And depending on your typeface, you're just going to have to kind of mess with this to some degree. That's pretty close, but I think it's actually, if I zoom in, that would be a little high. So that's really decent. I'm going to click OK. And just to check this now, I'm going to zoom in. And that looks pretty decent. And now, I'll zoom out so you can see, if we need to add some text, Now you're going to get kind of a funky preview, but if I put text in there, click OK, when I reset the text, it will stop previewing it in kind of that pixelated fashion, and you can see it follows it. So if I were to enter any page breaks, line breaks, new text, change the tracking, any of that stuff, because it is attached relative to this point right here, it's always going to follow it, and you won't end up with a detached tail. Hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.